Hello and welcome to the GSBC podcast. I'm your host, Matt Taylor-Farrington from Purple Bunny Marketing, and this podcast is brought to you by the Greater Springfield Chamber of Commerce. And today I am joined by Loz from Loz Life. It's been a while. Haven't seen you around.
I know. I've been hibernating.
Yes.
For the winter.
And we're going to talk, I know we've already talked on a different podcast, but we're going to talk again about your book that you've got out and a few other things that are going on. But let's kick things off. So I guess let's start with the title because it is very bold. What inspired that title, and did it come from like a moment of frustration, or did it come from like a flash of clarity where you were just like, yeah?
I mean, if you were walking through Kmart and you saw a book called The 7 Steps to Clarity, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have picked that one up. So my book definitely needed a bit of a slap. And interestingly enough, the book title came to me. I had this massive download. I was really frustrated trying to come up with a book title. And I like alliteration quite a lot. And I was lying actually at City Cave in Ipswich. I was having a float at City Cave. And I was lying there, and for one of the first times in a long time, I had just a complete spaciousness in my brain, because that's what happened. It's in sensory deprivation, right?
Yes.
And I remember lying there, and all of a sudden, after spending months and months trying to think of a title, this title downloaded into my brain. It's like, Get the F Unstuck.
Yeah.
And I remember walking out of that float, and the girl's like, oh, so how was your float? And I'm like, I think I made about $1 million in that float. But, it wasn't about clarity. I guess it was more about rage, and it's not even just a book title. I think the point of that book title, Get the F Unstuck, it's more like a public service announcement, really shaking people out of their stuckness and their averageness, because the number of people that come to me going, look, I'm just stuck.
Yes.
Or I'm feeling blah, or I'm feeling meh, and they're words that people use because there isn't even a thing that they can describe about how they're feeling, but they know that something has to change. And so that's why the book title had to slap people in the face. And you know what? It's not everyone's cup of tea. I can't get my book into airports or Target. I had this conversation with my publisher, but I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I'm more like a fine wine drunk out of a dirty dog bowl.
Wow. You always have a way with words, Loz. All right, so and I mean, agreed. Like, it wasn't going to appear on the shelves of Target, right?
No, and I'm very aware of that.
Yeah.
No. And people find my book, or my book finds them, typically. And, it's cheaper than therapy. Let's be real. A book's not that expensive, but it gets people into the land of Loz and that world of seeing themselves in a different way. And that's all really that I can ask for.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so you've turned your Get Unstuck blueprint into a book, and you've lived that process yourself. How did writing it compare to your usual style of coaching and habit hacking?
So I never actually meant to write a book, Matt. It's funny. I had been through my own journey of getting unstuck. I had been blogging, and I've always been writing since I was young. I used to win literature awards, and I've always felt writing to be a very cathartic expression of self. And so through blogging, I had talked about all of these things and all of these experiences that I'd had. Yeah. And when I finally moved from sort of being stuck to unstoppable, and people started noticing not just physically, but I guess energetically what was happening with me, they're like, oh, you should write a book. And I'm like, I don't want to write a book. But then I kind of accidentally wrote this book. And it's funny because I look at the process of writing a book and, I guess coaching versus writing, I mean, it is a very different process in itself.
Yeah.
Coaching is like in active wear, and writing is kind of like pajamas. But, writing a book and trying to turn your ideas into something that's tangible and a piece of intellectual property that has an evergreen presence is very different to sort of having an active conversation with someone. So trying to be very inclusive in the way that I speak, which I always am. I have a very wide spectrum of people that I work with and I attract. I find that when I'm in coaching, I can be like, oi, bitch, put the pin can down, like just be really hard and give a swift kick up the butt. But, when you're right, you have to predict that people are going to sneak them in anyway.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, correct.
So you've got to sort of catch people out on their bullshit before they do it. You're like, yes, you're talking to me.
Correct, 100%. All right. And then you talk about handbrake habits, I guess, and getting more in depth into what's in the book. Eating, movement, sleep, hydration, breathing. I guess what's the wildest or most surprising habit someone has uncovered as a stuck point?
I actually had this client and she was like, I realised every time I send a challenging email, I forget to breathe. And I'm like, babe, Outlook isn't worth dying over. Honest to God. I find that just some of those little things, because when I speak about handbrake habits, these are 5 habits that we all have in our daily lives. That's our eating, our breathing, not breathing. Some of us are very good at breathing, but eating, breathing, sleep, movement, and hydration. And these act as handbrakes on our lives. And so if we're driving around our lives and our car, i.e. our body, and we're driving around with handbrakes on, you can drive a car with the handbrakes, right?
Yes.
It just doesn't go very
good.
Right, yeah, it doesn't go very far, very fast. It wears out quickly and it costs a lot of money to fix.
Yes.
And so if we start releasing these handbrakes, it's one of the easiest ways that we can get unstuck. And some people, they jump to these big absurd ways of changing and transforming their lives. They do a 12-week challenge. Gosh, the number of people who do 12-week challenges.
Yes.
They walk on hot coals, they rah-rah, they download the app and the books and they tell everybody around them that they're onto something, yet they always slip back into these habit cycles that are holding them back and they end up continuously on this hamster wheel. And the idea of the handbrake habits is we don't worry about those things. We make really strong but subtle physiological interventions.
Yes.
And I always say simplify to amplify. And, just that one example of that client going, oh my gosh, I'm even aware of my breathing now. Just having an awareness over those things can be the first step to get you the F unstuck.
Yes.
Look at me censoring myself.
Saving Nick a lot of work.
Yeah, right.
Yes, and look, you're right. We all dive into those fads or that 12-week challenge or
Right.
I'm guilty.
Yeah.
It happens all the time instead of just focusing on, I guess, the longevity and, like you say, releasing those handbrakes. So,
yeah, and the thing is, it's about getting stuck for good and not starting again every friggin' Monday because people, honestly, they get stuck again. And so when we can make those shifts and make it so simple without the wellness wankery, we can make it so simple
Yes.
you would actually feel like a little bit of a dickhead not doing the thing. That's when we know we've hit gold because it's about doing less more often, simplify to amplify. And it works. I mean, I worked with thousands of people and everybody gets unstuck in their own way.
Yeah, agreed.
Even if it's just breathing over an email.
Outlook rage is a thing,
Better
right?
than breathing over an email. That's a whole other conversation.
Agreed. That's a different podcast too.
Very.
All right. So your journey includes overcoming. You've had huge challenges in your life. You've had loss, health battles, trauma, and you've turned that into a firecracker business. Can you share one personal moment where habits literally saved your mojo?
Yeah, I think there was a really poignant time, and this is kind of what got the ball rolling. When my first husband, Brian, took his own life in 2016, this was really the critical turning point in my life for me even to be here having this conversation with you. And habits, in all essence, were literally the duct tape. Like I was like MacGyver, and it wasn't sexy, but when we think about duct tape, I mean, it does save lives. And it's interesting because my entire life flipped on its head. And there was a series of other events around that event that happened as well that really forced me to lose my entire sense of self, my sense of place in the world, and my understanding of what life was about. And
yes.
I was seeing a psychologist at the time and, for various reasons, even before this happened. And wise words were, time is going to have to pass for these things to heal with you. And even legally, like it takes time for legal things to take their course, but you need to go find something that you can do every day that makes you feel like you're making progress. And they were such sage words that I needed to hear at that time. And that's literally the system that I use for people now is that, over time, when you look back at yourself, 12 weeks ago, 3 years ago, whatever it is, you become an entirely different person by changing your habits. And we are the product of our habits.
Yes.
Right? So that habit for me was sleep. The first habit that I ever decided to unpack was like I made sure I got my sleep in. No ifs, buts, or maybes. Only big butts though. Big, curvy, muscular butts. But no, seriously, sleep was a big saving grace for me. And it was duct tape. It was the oxygen mask. And then that unlocked itself. And then it was movement. And then it was breathing. And over the period of time that I educated myself on all these things and acquired a lot of credentials across, 13 different fields of study, it became very evident to me that most people overlook their daily habits, and people try and lose weight, they try and get fit, but they don't stick at the habit long enough for it to be of benefit to themselves. So they end up driving back around with a handbrake on, right? So it's actually the habits that give you the product of where you are in your life, whether that's stuck or unstoppable.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed. I'm one of them. Like we struggle, and I guess for business owners in particular, we live and breathe our business 24/7. I know for myself, I was up at 5 a.m. this morning, responding to emails, dealing with things, sorting things, and didn't prioritise myself. So, it happens. We all get stuck.
And they're the people that I work with, the people that are the busy warriors out there saving the world, one email, one conversation at a time, because these are the people that are most vulnerable to not protecting their self-care. They'll forfeit sleep in order to serve. And, when you're dealing with neurodivergence on top of that, and anyone with any sort of neurospicy traits, typically will find it challenging to sit down for periods of time to actually think about these things. So by focusing on physiological shifts, and that was a big thing for me. I was diagnosed with ADHD in 1998 before it was even cool, and I stopped taking medication around 2010. So, for the last 15 years, I haven't been medicated, and I choose not to be, but I've found ways to manage myself and look after myself. And there are times when it's hard because you've got deadlines, you've got clients, you've got customers, you've got people to manage, expectations to manage. But when you value yourself and you value your health, then you put your oxygen mask on first, and then you learn how to teach people how to find their own oxygen masks.
Yes.
We're the ones wearing the hats, yet you're wearing all the hats, yet we're asked where the friggin' spare hats are kept. That's what it feels like sometimes, right? So it's so important, especially in business.
Yes, I agree. All right, so your approach is rooted in science, though.
Yeah.
But served with sass, clearly.
Very clearly.
How do you strike the balance between making the message both evidence-based and, I guess, bold?
Well, I always say that science without sass is like kale without dressing. It's technically good, but it's really, really hard to swallow. So, if I quote PubMed, then, my eyes got a glaze over it, and I'll always try and find peer-reviewed studies to make sure it just wasn't a one-off thing that was sponsored by some sort of drug or company or some food company. But then I'll add in a fart joke, and that hooks people in. Because the thing is, as you've probably clocked, I'm not your typical sort of wellness advocate. I think a side of sass is needed, and especially in this era of people doom scrolling their way through life, you've got about 3 seconds to make 100%. An impact on someone. And humour is the thing. It's my flavour of suffering. Yes. Humour is the thing that gets me through my life, and it's the reason that people like to engage with me, because I will talk about some very, very deep and hard things with people, especially one-on-one coaching clients. Being a life coach is part of what I do. It's important to be able to navigate those really challenging moments in people's lives with a sense of care and empathy. But when we serve it with a side of, inappropriate dad jokes, it cracks people open. It actually makes them trust themselves and trust you a little bit more, because you're helping them realise that, as an adult, we can still have fun, even when things are hard. We've got bills to pay, we've got families to feed, all of the above.
Yes.
We forget as adults how to even have fun. And I think fun is my second favourite F word, really. But it's important, I think, to really navigate that with evidence-based practices, because there's so much bullshit out there, guys. I mean, you've got people on TikTok with big soapboxes and loud mouths who are not educated and not qualified in anything, and unfortunately they're the people that make big impact on people's lives in a not so positive way.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed. All right. So you've built multiple 6 and 7 figure businesses, won heap of awards, can't count. When you say your talks ignite people, can you tell us about a moment in the talk or the workshop that still gives you goosebumps?
I had a lady come to me. She'd actually read my book first. It was funny because I get people that buy my books all over the place. And I don't know because I sell them on all these platforms. So
yes.
She'd actually bought my book on Amazon. And so like she wasn't in my database. She hadn't been getting my newsletter, but she'd been one of those people that sort of follow you from the sidelines, you know, behind the curtains. And they're the people that engage with your content, but you don't know.
Yes.
And I remember I was speaking at a conference recently. I was the closing keynote speaker at a conference for admin managers in public schools in Queensland. She actually happened to work at a public school. She didn't live anywhere near here. She lived friggin' near Bowen. And she came up to me and she said, you know, I actually started a habit of walking and I did that because of you. You know, I've been really stuck in my life. I've had a relationship breakdown. My kids don't talk to me. I've gained 30 kilos. I'm going through menopause. I feel like a piece of shit, she said. She goes, I don't feel myself. I forgot what that felt like. And when you talked about Simplify to Amplify in your book and you talked about making things so easy that you'd feel stupid not doing it, I was like, why am I not going for a walk? I live up north in Bowen where it's warm all the time and it's nice, even in winter, like I can manage. And she said, because of you, you know, I actually started this habit. And it's interesting because, you know, she was tracking it in Strava, she was getting her steps in. And it feels interesting when that happens because you do forget as a thought leader the ripple effect of your impact. And, you know, you have the people in your close little ecosystem that you see all of the time, or the people that engage with your social media content, the people that comment and send me DMs every day about stupid memes that I share. If you want to check it out, I am the meme dealer of this part of the world. But, you know, you do forget that ripple effect and, you know, people that you're not even aware of are consuming your content and it's making a very positive impact in their life. And so I loved that she was there at that conference because she actually was the only person from the school that she was working at to come to the conference. And the reason she came is because she had already bought my book.
Yes, and she wanted to meet you.
Yeah, somewhere along the line, someone recommended the book to her in her circle. Yeah. And it was awesome. It was awesome. So we got a photo and she bought some merch and weird shit from me, which was great. Agreed.
All right, so we're implementing a new little piece into the GSBC podcast where we're going to throw some quick fire questions at our interviewees. So quick fire, coffee, matcha or chaos?
Chaos with coffee and make it maybe a triple shot.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I don't know that you need to be too caffeinated, but anyways. All right, a go-to guilty pleasure snack?
Look, I really love salt and vinegar chips in the car, in the dark.
By yourself.
And I always make sure my car is clean so no one knows.
All right, and last one. If your book had a theme song, what would it be?
So I reckon, you know that Unstoppable song by Sia?
Yes.
And you know Eye of the Tiger?
Yes.
I reckon they need to have a love child. And that would be my entrance song. That would be it. Or, you know, sometimes if I get really stuck, because that song hasn't existed yet, it's, whoop, there it is. Whoop, there it is. Yeah, every time.
Oh, God.
God,
all right.
save us.
Perfect. So your book is out. The energy's unstoppable, but what's next? What's on the horizon for
world
Loz?
domination? 100% in activewear and leopard print. No, but in all seriousness, I am actually going completely online. So I'm still offering face-to-face services, but you know, you got to go global. You got to think big. And I'm launching the Healthy Habit Hierarchy Academy. Try saying that 3 times fast, which is abbreviated to H3A. And that's actually launching. So inside there, what we do is offer the Library of Loz. So years and years and lifetimes of all of the resources that I've collated and created. They sit in the Library of Loz. And inside the academy, I offer monthly masterclasses. I have free webinars. I've got a webinar once every 2 months, a free one to people that are interested. So examples are like food guilt can F right off. how to
Yes.
love life, be fun and still smash a bicky. But that's an example of the types of things we have. And also we have a monthly Q&A. It's called Loz and Found. Loz and Found.
Yes.
But we do challenges every month too. So ranging across the spectrum of all of those habits, eat, breathe, sleep, move, hydrate, and up my healthy habit hierarchy. Everything in there is basically offered, and rather than people having to pay for one-on-one coaching, which can get expensive, and you know what, like everyone's tightening their belts these days. I get it, right? It's
Yeah.
got to be affordable. It's got to be connected. You can go on the app. You can listen to the videos. You can watch the videos. There's always ways to engage.
Nice.
But it gets people in a community with other people that are like-minded and wanting to live an unstoppable life. So that launches or has launched, because maybe I'm coming to you from the past or the future, 1st of October in 2025.
Yep.
So back to the DeLorean, Marty, not sure. But that's really exciting. And I've been working on that. That's been a 6-year project. And, technology now has enabled me to do this the way that I wanted to, which is great. But that's the biggest, newest thing, and lots of speaking gigs as well.
Yeah, lovely. And you speak well. I've seen some of your presentations, and
Thank you.
The people, I've watched a couple back on your socials where you've put stuff up, and just seeing the reactions from people, and you definitely know how to get a room up and motivated. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I'll get people writing the alphabet with their butts, doing a stretch, but they end up doing YMCA arm movements and things like that. Always a little bit of a spin on it, right? But thank you.
Yes.
Speaking is the thing that I feel very called to do, and speaking makes a really great impact on people, because you're getting people in a room or, even in a digital space, and they leave feeling better than they did when they started.
Yes. Yeah. Good. All right. So before we wrap, drop one bite-sized habit everyone can try tomorrow just to feel a little less unstuck.
Drink water before you drink coffee. I know it sounds boring and it's very unglamorous, but you know what feels worse? Feeling like before 10 a.m.
Yes.
That feels worse. So drink up. I also think getting unstuck, if you're thinking about it, it's not about overhauling your entire life overnight. And I think that's the big thing that we think we have to do, because we have such instant gratification hardwired into the way that we are now. It's about getting rid of the excuses. It's about finding that one handbrake habit, that one thing, and making a small shift that actually works. And if you just do that, you will be unstoppable, because life is just, it's way too short for wellness wankery.
I love that. I'm going to steal that.
Thank you.
Anyways, all right, that's it from us. Thank you for tuning in to the latest episode of the GSBC podcast. Make sure that you do jump on to all of Loz's socials, give her a follow, look at her content, watch the videos. You will definitely get a laugh.
And maybe... Yeah, well, we won't.
Without the wellness wankery.
A laugh and a dad joke that you can reuse, please and thank you.